If this video appeared in your feed today, it is not an accident. Carl Jung discovered something profound about timing and transformation. There is a reason you are watching this right now. You are standing at the edge of a deep inner shift that Jung mapped out decades ago. The confusion you feel, the sense that you have been pretending, these are not signs that something is wrong with you. They are signals that something is finally ready to become right. You have been living behind a mask for so long that you forgot what your real face looks like. Jung called this mask the persona. It is the version of yourself you show to the world. The polite smile, the agreeable nod, the carefully chosen words that keep everyone comfortable. You built this mask so well that people praise you for it. They call you responsible, mature, easy to work with. But here is what they do not see. Behind that perfect exterior, there is a growing emptiness that terrifies you. This is what Jung called the perfect person problem. You have spent years, maybe decades, learning exactly what to say and how to act. You know which emotions are acceptable and which ones need to be hidden. You have become so skilled at reading rooms and adjusting yourself that it happens automatically now. You wake up in the morning and put on your mask before you even leave the bedroom. At work, you are the reliable one who never complains. With your family, you are the peacemaker who absorbs everyone's tension. With friends, you are the listener who never burdens anyone. The mask fits so perfectly now that you barely notice you are wearing it. But your body notices. You feel exhausted for no clear reason. You sleep, but never feel rested. You accomplish things, but feel no satisfaction. There is a heaviness in your chest that you cannot explain to anyone because you cannot even explain it to yourself. Other people seem to thrive on your adaptability. They love how easy you are, how you never make waves, how you always know what they need. They have built their comfort on your self-suppression, and they will fight to keep things exactly as they are. Living perfectly according to social rules comes with a hidden cost. Every time you suppress your real reaction, every time you swallow your true opinion, every time you perform instead of simply being, something inside you gets pushed down into darkness. Jung discovered that these rejected parts of yourself do not disappear. They accumulate in your unconscious like pressure building in a sealed container. He called this buildup the shadow. What exactly goes into your shadow? Everything you were taught was unacceptable. Your anger when someone crosses your boundaries. Your disappointment when people let you down. Your desire to say no without explaining yourself. Your need to be seen and heard. Your ambition that might threaten others. Your sexuality that might make people uncomfortable. Your opinions that might start arguments. Your sadness that might burden people. Your joy that might make others jealous. The mechanism works like this. Every time you feel something real, you quickly check if that feeling is allowed. If it is not, you push it down and replace it with an acceptable feeling. You do this so fast, so automatically, that you barely notice. But each suppressed moment adds weight to your shadow. Each denied truth makes the pressure build. Your shadow grows heavier and darker, not because it is evil, but because it contains all the vitality you have been refusing to live. The warning signs appear long before the explosion. You start having thoughts that scare you, fantasies of walking away from your entire life, dreams where you are screaming but no sound comes out. You feel rage at small inconveniences that should not matter. You cry at random moments for reasons you cannot name. You feel disconnected from your own life, like you are watching yourself from a distance. These are not signs of mental illness. These are your shadow trying to get your attention. These are the parts of you that refuse to stay buried any longer. Here is the critical difference between healthy adaptation and toxic suppression. Healthy adaptation means adjusting your behavior to fit the situation while staying connected to your core self. You can be professional at work without betraying your values. you can be kind to others without abandoning your needs. Toxic suppression means erasing your core self to become what others want. You lose track of what you actually feel, think, and need. You become a mirror that reflects everyone else while remaining empty inside. The unintegrated person, the one still trapped behind the perfect mask, becomes unconsciously dangerous. Not to others necessarily, but to themselves. The explosion can happen in different ways. Some people have sudden breakdowns that seem to come from nowhere. Others sabotage their own success right when things seem perfect. Some become bitter and resentful without understanding why. What looks like psychological collapse is actually the shadow demanding to be seen. Your soul is attempting to break through the perfect mask because it knows you cannot live like this anymore. The pain you feel right now, the confusion about who you really are, the sense that you have been living someone else's life, these are not problems to be fixed. They are invitations to transformation. Jung believed that true change often begins with crisis or betrayal. It takes a moment powerful enough to shatter the comfortable lies we tell ourselves. This moment forces you to stop denying the parts of yourself you were taught to hide. The clarity event Jung documented looks different for everyone, but it follows a pattern. Something happens that you cannot rationalize away. A betrayal you cannot excuse. A loss you cannot minimize. A moment where you finally see how much of yourself you have sacrificed. Suddenly, everything becomes clear. You see all the times you said yes when you meant no. All the moments you smiled while dying inside. All the relationships where you gave everything and received nothing. All the years you spent becoming someone you are not. This moment is terrifying because your entire identity cracks open. Everything you thought you knew about yourself and your life comes into question. But this moment is also liberating because the exhausting performance finally stops. You cannot maintain the mask anymore. You do not want to. For the first time in years, maybe in your entire life, you feel something real. Even if that feeling is pain, it is your pain. Even if that feeling is anger, it is your anger. It belongs to you, and that belonging feels like coming home. The immediate aftermath of this awareness is chaotic. You might feel guilty for finally feeling your real feelings. You might feel afraid of who you will become without your mask. You might feel angry at everyone who benefited from your suppression. You might feel grief for all the years you lost pretending. Let yourself feel all of it. This is not breakdown. This is breakthrough. You are finally waking up. Great pain can become a path to growth if you are willing to listen to what it is trying to teach you. The pattern Jung observed again and again was this. People reached their breaking point and, in that moment of absolute clarity, they finally stopped pretending. They stopped apologizing for seeing what they saw. They stopped dimming their intelligence to make others comfortable. They stopped sacrificing their truth to keep the peace. This shift to conscious awareness is what Jung called the individuation process. It is his systematic approach to developing a conscious relationship with your unconscious. The real danger, Jung discovered, is not in having a shadow. Everyone has one. The real danger is the absolute unconsciousness of your own darkness. When you refuse to look at your shadow, you hand it complete control over your life. It leaks out in ways you do not recognize. You become the very thing you fear while believing you are its opposite. The goal Jung taught is simple but profound. Move from unconscious absorption to conscious choice. Stop letting life happen to you. Stop letting others define your reality. Stop waiting for external permission to be who you actually are. This transformation requires radical responsibility, and understanding radical responsibility means first understanding its opposite, projection. Here is how projection works and why it keeps you trapped. When people cannot accept their own capacity for malice, selfishness, or cruelty, They project these qualities onto others. They make someone else the villain so they can feel pure. Jung documented this pattern endlessly in his clinical work. People who refuse to own their shadow will always find someone to blame. They will always need an enemy. They will always be the victim in their own story. Think about your own relationships. How often have you accused someone of not caring when you were the one who stopped caring first? How often have you called someone controlling when you were trying to control the situation? How often have you blamed someone for abandoning you when you had already emotionally checked out? Projection lets you avoid looking at uncomfortable truths about yourself by making those truths about someone else. The cycle of blame and victimhood becomes addictive. It feels good to be the innocent one. It feels powerful to make everything someone else's fault. But this power is an illusion. When you give others all the blame, you also give them all the power. If they caused all your problems, then only they can fix them. You become helpless, waiting for others to change so you can finally be happy. This waiting can last your entire life. The moment you realize you have been projecting is humbling and horrifying. You see how much energy you wasted blaming others for problems you created. You see how you destroyed relationships by refusing to look at your own behavior. You see how you stayed stuck by making everyone else responsible for your growth. But hidden in this terrible recognition is your freedom. If you created this trap through projection, you can escape it through ownership. Radical responsibility means recognizing what belongs to you and what belongs to others. It means ending the habit of externalizing your problems. It means owning your own stuff instead of constantly pointing at everyone else's. This is terrifying work because it requires you to admit that you are not the innocent victim you have been telling yourself you are. You have participated in your own suffering. You have made choices that kept you small. You have betrayed yourself more than anyone else ever could. What does radical responsibility actually look like in practice? It looks like saying I chose to stay in that relationship instead of they trapped me. It looks like saying I ignored my intuition instead of they deceived me. It looks like saying I abandoned my boundaries instead of they violated them. This does not mean other people bear no responsibility for their actions. It means you stop waiting for them to take responsibility before you can move forward with your life. You reclaim your power by reclaiming your part in the story. The specific lies we tell ourselves to avoid responsibility are countless, but they follow patterns. I had no choice. Anyone would have done the same. I was just trying to help. I did not know any better. They made me feel this way. These lies feel true because we have repeated them so many times, but each lie keeps you trapped in the past, waiting for something external to change before you can change internally. Learning to distinguish between your responsibility and others is an art. You are responsible for your choices, your reactions, your boundaries, and your growth. You are not responsible for other people's emotions, their healing, their choices, or their perceptions of you. The relief that comes with owning your part and releasing what is not yours feels like dropping a weight you did not know you were carrying. You finally have energy for your own life because you stopped carrying everyone else's. But here is the liberation hidden in that difficult truth. If you created this trap, you can also create your escape. Jung also warned about the danger of collective possession. This is when groups start seeing the world through one person's distorted reality. When you rely on external validation to know who you are, you give away your power. You become trapped in other people's projections. You start living for their approval instead of your own truth. External validation becomes an addiction with tolerance. The first time someone praises you for being so selfless, it feels good. So you become more selfless. But now you need more praise to feel the same way. You twist yourself into smaller and smaller shapes, chasing the next hit of approval. You check your worth by checking other people's faces. Are they pleased with you? Then you have value. Are they disappointed? Then you have failed. The specific ways we give our power away are often invisible to us. You ask for opinions on decisions you have already made, not for wisdom, but for permission. You change your plans based on someone's passing comment. You edit your personality depending on who is in the room. You apologize for things that are not your fault. You explain and justify your choices to people who have no authority over your life. Each time you do this, you reinforce the belief that your internal knowing matters less than external approval. Living for approval means you are always performing, always auditioning, never arriving. You cannot relax because you might slip and reveal something unacceptable. You cannot be spontaneous because you have not calculated the reaction. You cannot be honest because honesty might cost you the approval you have worked so hard to earn. The cost of seeking validation is your authentic self. You trade who you are for the temporary comfort of being liked by people who do not actually know you. The individuated person moves beyond mere performance. They stop identifying with roles that were never really theirs. Jung observed that people often become possessed by archetypes. They lose themselves in being the eternal victim, always suffering, or the righteous warrior, always fighting, or the selfless martyr, always sacrificing. These roles feel important, even noble, but they are still masks. They are still ways of avoiding your real self. When you are possessed by an archetype, you lose your individual humanity and become a symbol, a type, a role. The awakened person chooses to engage with the world authentically. They live in the present moment, grounded in their internal reality instead of society's expectations. This does not mean rejecting society. It means no longer letting society's rules override your inner knowing. It means trusting yourself enough to live from the inside out instead of the outside in. You become the authority on your own life, not in an arrogant way, but in a sovereign way. You know what is true for you. You know what you need. You know what you will and will not accept, and you trust that knowing. When you complete this journey, you do not just survive. You transform. You become what Jung called psychologically complete. Not perfect, never perfect, but integrated. Whole. You stop being at war with yourself. The parts you rejected, the qualities you denied, the truths you buried, they all come back home. You realize you need every part of yourself, even the difficult parts, even the inconvenient parts, especially the parts you thought were unacceptable. Your anger protects your boundaries. Your selfishness protects your energy. Your pride celebrates your worth. These are not flaws. They are features. The awakened state Jung documented has specific qualities that show up in daily life. These people possess both gentleness and implacable strength. They can be incredibly kind to those who deserve it and ruthlessly precise with those who do not. When someone tries to manipulate them, they see it instantly and shut it down without drama. When someone is genuine, they respond with warmth and openness. They have become what Jung called selectively empathetic. They still care deeply, but they are strategically protective of where that care flows. Watch how they move through the world. Problems that would have destroyed the old version of them now barely register. Someone's bad mood does not become their emergency. Someone's criticism does not shatter their self-worth. Someone's rejection does not send them spiraling. They have developed an inner stability that external chaos cannot shake. Their love has boundaries now, not walls, but healthy limits that protect their energy and integrity. They can love you and still say no to you. They can care about you and still let you face your own consequences. They cultivate a sense of freedom, calm, and inner peace that is independent of external circumstances. The world can be chaotic, people can be difficult, life can be hard, and they remain centered. Not because they are detached or numb, but because they have found an unshakable foundation within themselves. They are no longer at the mercy of other people's moods, opinions, or projections. They can be in a room full of judgment and remain clear about who they are. They can face disappointment without collapsing. They can celebrate success without needing external validation to make it real. This is what it means to embody meaning rather than chase it. You stop looking outside yourself for purpose. You stop waiting for someone to give you permission to matter. You become the source of your own meaning. Every action flows from your authentic center. Every choice reflects your true values. Every relationship honors your real self. You are no longer trying to prove your worth through achievement or earn your right to exist through service. You simply are, and that is enough. The decision you face right now is simple, but profound. Will you choose conscious transformation, or will you let life force it upon you? Jung believed everyone eventually faces this choice. The only question is whether you will meet it with awareness or resistance. The cost of not choosing conscious transformation is high. When you avoid this work, your shadow does not disappear. It waits, it grows. Eventually, it will force itself into your awareness through crisis, illness, or collapse. Life will arrange circumstances that make the transformation unavoidable. Forced transformation is brutal. It comes when you are unprepared. It strips away everything at once. You lose the job, the relationship, the identity, the health, all in rapid succession. You have no foundation because you never built one. You have no inner resources because you never developed them. You are at the mercy of external circumstances because you never learned to trust yourself. This is the hard way, and many people take it because they did not know there was another option. Conscious transformation is different. It is still difficult, but you are an active participant rather than a passive victim. You begin the work before life forces you to. You look at your shadow voluntarily. You question your patterns intentionally. You build your foundation while you still have stability. The timeline varies for everyone, but the process follows a pattern. First, you notice. You see your masks and your projections. You recognize when you are performing. Then you question. You ask why you built these patterns. What were you trying to protect? What were you afraid of? Then comes the hardest part. You release. You let go of the false self you built. You stop defending the persona. You allow yourself to be seen as imperfect, uncertain, and real. You feel the grief of lost years and the fear of an unknown future. You sit with discomfort instead of rushing to fix it. Finally, you integrate. The shadow comes home. The rejected parts return. You become whole, not by adding something new, but by reclaiming what was always yours. Why this moment matters more than you realize is simple. You are here, watching this video, because you are ready. Some part of you has been preparing for this. The pain you feel is not random. The confusion is not weakness. They are labor pains. Something in you is being born. The old version of you is dying so the real you can finally live. The peace and authenticity you gain from this work cannot be taken from you. Once you know who you really are beneath the masks, once you have integrated your shadow, once you have claimed your full self, no one can manipulate you back into smallness. You become psychologically sovereign, not perfect, not finished, but free. Free to make mistakes, free to change your mind, free to grow, free to be exactly who you are in this moment without apology. Jung mapped these dangerous territories of transformation to give you freedom. Freedom from unconscious manipulation. Freedom from living according to scripts written by people who do not know you. Freedom from betraying yourself to gain approval that ultimately means nothing. You are here, watching this video, because some part of you already knows this truth. You are ready. Maybe you have been ready for a while. But you did not know how to begin. Begin here. Begin now. Begin with one simple acknowledgement. You are not broken. You are waking up. Subscribe for more insights into Jung's discoveries about the journey from confusion to clarity, from pretending to authenticity, from existing to truly living. Thank you for watching. See you in the next dimension.